Welcome to Chapter 6. Today we shall learn how to assess and provide feedback with Turnitin. Online tools such as Turnitin can facilitate the assessment of learning and providence of feedback. Some of these tools are automated and will save time. Yet at the same time, we can use these tools to identify individual learners with challenges, identify concepts that are difficult to understand, and provide individualized feedback. Why Turnitin? Well, it is integrated with Moodle. It automatically checks for similarity, and there are tools such as QuickMark and Rubric that will help expedite marking. The steps for creating a Turnitin assignment are as follows. We first need to add Turnitin as an activity in Moodle. Then we need to edit the settings of Turnitin, add the rubric as a grade mark option, use the rubric, and finally we will discuss an additional function called QuickMark. Our first step is to add Turnitin as an activity in Moodle. To do this, go to your main page, click on Edit Settings on the top right. Scroll down to the panel for which you want to add this Turnitin activity and click on the panel Add an Activity or Resource. A window will pop up and select the Turnitin assignment. Next, we need to edit the settings of Turnitin. There are a few things that require your input, such as the name and the summary. The other settings can be set as default, but I will explain what they are. First, you can set the submission type as file upload or text submission or any submission type. You can set the number of parts. For each part, you will need to set a start date, a due date, and a post date. You can set the maximum file size, whether you want anonymous marking, whether you allow submission of any file type. You can set whether you want to display the originality reports to students. If this is set to yes, then the originality report generated by Turnitin, reflecting some level of similarity, will be made available to the students. For grade display, you can set whether the students should see their grade as a fraction or percentage. For this setting, auto refresh grades, you can set automatically sync changes to grades. If you have a large cohort and this slows you down, you can set to manual. Finally, set these values as assignment defaults. This only applies to assignments you set up under your own account and may be helpful if you have many similar assignments to create. Our next panel allows us to do some settings to the grade. First up, the type. You can select point, which is the number out of a maximum grade, or scale, which allows you to choose any grade scales set by your institute, such as fail, first, second. None allows you to give feedback only. For grade category, if you set these up in your Moodle grade book, then you can select one here. And finally, you can set to pass, the grade to pass, and if you have a threshold, setting it here will display whether pass or fail in the grade book. Our next panel is the assignment part settings. First, we need to name our part, set our start date, the earliest date that students can submit, the due date, which is the deadline, the post date, the date that marks and feedback are returned to students, and finally, your maximum marks. Our next panel is the similarity report options. You can allow for submissions to be after the due date, so you decide whether the students are allowed to submit after the due date. these submissions will be clearly marked as late. As for report generation speed, you can decide whether the reports are generated or if the students have multiple attempts to submit. The options will be to generate reports immediately or to generate reports after the due date. Our next option is to decide whether to store the students' papers. You can choose to store them for Turnitin comparison against future submission, or you can choose no repository for sensitive students' work. The next few options will allow you to decide whether to check the report for similarity against different items such as the internet, against stored student papers, against journals, against bibliography, etc. Our next panel is the grade mark options, where you enable the rubric, and this will bring us very nicely to our next step. So we need to click on the rubric manager launching button. Once you have launched the rubric manager, you are able to add the rubric for easy marking. First up, click on the button on the top left and click on Create New Rubric. A window will appear specifying the skills as column and criterion as rows. For each of the skills, you may specify a range of marks such as 0 to 20, 20 to 40, etc. And the criterion is one of your marking criteria. This is an example of a completed rubric. I have 4 skills, 0 to 25, 25 to 50, etc. And I have multiple criterion, and for each criterion, I can specify what percentage of the marks are allocated to each portion of the thesis. Once you are done with the rubric configuration, remember to save, and this will bring you back to the window of the assignment. Click on Save and Display, and your assignment is ready to be administered. Now let's see how we can use the rubric for marking. Back on the Moodle main page, select the assignment for which you have assigned the rubric. This will bring you to the window with the assignments. Click on one of the assignments. The assignment will pop up. Click on the rubric icon as seen here. A panel would appear on your right, and you can specify the scores for each of the criterion. For example, 75% for the summary text, 75% for the body. This will automatically calculate a total score for this particular assignment, and you can click on Apply to Grade to give this grade to the student's report. The rubric manager is a systematic way of marking your assignment according to a set criteria. Another function is the quick mark in Turnitin. To access this, click on your assignment, and then click on the quick mark manager icon on the top right. A window will pop up. This is the quick mark manager for which you can edit or add in new comments. Select the commonly used button. Click on the plus sign to add in new comments. Alternatively, click on the existing ones, and you can click on Edit to edit those comments. Now, to use it, go to your assignment. Click on the quick mark manager icon, and your comments will appear. To add in a comment on the report, simply drag one of the comments onto the report. This will enable you to quickly mark students' common mistakes. To assess plagiarism, we would like to examine the similarity scores that have been produced by Turnitin. To do this, click on the digit icon. This digit shows what percentage of the report have similarities elsewhere. Remember to scroll all the way down to the bibliography, as usually bibliography will increase the percentage similarity. To summarize, we have seen that Turnitin can make marking time efficient and effective by using useful tools such as rubric, quick mark, and similarity scrolls. Thank you.